Here's the problem with Arcane Season 2. Now, I could go on for hours blabbering about the absolute peaks in fiction and Arcane, but I'm sure someone who's far smarter than me and far better at articulating their points has said it and will continue to say it. To keep it light, Arcane Season 1 is one of my favorites in fiction. It's made me jump for joy, yell for anger, break down crying like an actual baby, and fall in love with so many different forms of writing. There were a few issues in Season 1, but compared to Season 2, it's not even close. Now, if I could conclude my final thoughts on this season in one sentence, it would be, I'm not as much mad as where they went with this story. I'm just really upset that they didn't have enough time to tell that story. The problem with this season as a whole is they had too much with too little time to actually tell the story they wanted to. Now, at first, it didn't feel like this in the slightest. Watching those first 3 episodes in the first act was incredibly exciting. Getting introduced to new dynamics like Jinx, Savika, and Isha, as well as getting introduced to new dynamics like Jace, Heimerdinger, and Echo were all really fun to see. Seeing Caitlyn start to turn into this ruthless dictator, seeing Vi hit rock bottom, getting an understanding of Mbessa and Mel's relationship with this Black Rose entity, and of course, the constant tease at the end of the episodes of Warwick. Now, even though I'm not a huge fan of Warwick or any way they decided to go with this storyline, I still really enjoy getting teased like that. What can I say? I like getting edged. Now, when Act 2 rolled in around, this is where some of the pacing could definitely be felt. Vi hitting rock bottom was actually just an intro to the episode. It wasn't actually a whole character arc, and it really didn't last that long. Caitlyn is hardly shown at all being the ruthless dictator they set her up to be, and ends up just switching sides at the end with what feels like not enough motivation at all. Mel is shown twice, and each time gives us no understanding, if anything, more questions to what is happening. And Vi and Jinx go from trying to kill each other to sisters again so quickly. All of these felt super rushed, at least compared to the first season, which has just perfect pacing. However, Season 2 Act 2's is much more acceptable compared to Act 3. Season 2 Act 2 is much more acceptable because of the way it min-maxes on meaningful and powerful plot lines. Like Jinx and Isha bonding, and the climax of that is honestly one of my favorite moments in the entire show. The constant confusion and questioning of Victor and Jace is just so well done.
Jace fans, we won.
I really liked Act 2 despite the issues I had with it, but compared to Act 3, Act 2 looks like a dream. Act 3 does a similar style of min-maxing. We spent an entire episode with Heimerdinger, Jace, and of course Echo, trying to find their way back to their dimension. And while I very much hate the trope of multi-dimensions and multiverses, it really is enjoyable to kind of see what if these characters were doing this, doing that. What if Silco and Vander made up? What if Jinx didn't turn into Jinx and she stayed as Powder? That kind of stuff is always fun to see, but there are major consequences of it. I do think this episode has its flaws, or should I say one major flaw, but I'll get back to that later. Once I finished this episode, my stomach sank because I had the realization that they have to wrap up every single plotline in these next 2 episodes, and I can confirm they failed. These 2 episodes are all over the place. I think the perfect example of this is Vi. She literally goes from hearing that her own sister is going to self-delete to then getting her freak on. And I just want to make it clear, can we blame her?
Yeah, that brother's starving.
No, but seriously, this scene's quite ridiculous. I mean, her going from hearing what Jinx is gonna do to this scene is literally one scene. It's one scene, and then the next time we see Vi again, it's the scene. Not only that, but this Kate and Vi scene is so extended and long. It literally keeps going after every single time you think they're gonna stop, and it's just icky. I assume the purpose of this was to be the climax of the romance that's been building since season 1, but it just feels so misplaced and disrespectful to have this long drawn out sex scene attempting to finally get these 2 characters together and satisfy the audience when it's just so wrongly placed. Not only that, but Jinx goes from self-deleting to teaming up with Echo in the span of, once again, 2 scenes. We see Mel going from capture to Starlight and joining the Black Rose in also one scene, which is just feels horrendous considering we got 2 scenes of her in Act 2. Do you get where I'm going here? Now, all of these decisions I can understand and I can respect if it was just paced well. If there was more time to tell the story, I wouldn't be mad at this at all, but it just feels so bad because these characters have little to no motivation going into their actions, and it just feels so rushed and misplaced. They had too many resolutions that needed to be completed, but nowhere near enough time. That could have also easily led to the issues with some of the characters making absolutely nonsensical decisions. Perfect example is Ambessa. Throughout this season, Ambessa's trying to get revenge on the Black Rose, and it all makes complete sense for her character. But that takes an absolute nosedive in Act 3. She agrees to team up with Victor so she can get the mindless and extremely strong robots to help her get revenge on the Black Rose, but she somehow failed to realize, or did realize, that Victor's entire goal is to turn everyone into these mindless robots. Another nonsensical decision is Maddie in this final battle. I mean, she has had the opportunity to kill Caitlyn, but just didn't. She also literally risked her life for no reason to just, in the end, kill Caitlyn anyway. I'm not sure why she didn't. Well, I know why she did. She did it because she had to be in front of Superpower Mel to stop her from actually killing Caitlyn. Also, now that we're talking about Maddie, I guess we'll talk about the other enforcer who had a few scenes, as well as so did Maddie. I mean, Maddie had, what, less than 5 scenes? Loris, maybe 5 words the entire season? Yet they kill these 2 characters off and try and make it impactful when I have no emotion towards any of these characters. They didn't do or even say anything all season. So it begs the question, why are you trying to give me a meaningful moment with these characters who have absolutely nothing meaningful about them? I guess since we're talking about deaths, I should talk about that problem. In the first season, I was quite frustrated on the first watch because of the lack of death in the main cast. You know, the season started off with Vander dying, so I was hoping that that was an example of where this story was going to go, but it wasn't. I actually think that LOL characters had a lot of plot armor. Like, for instance, the first time I noticed was when Jinx and Echo had a grenade blast off at 1 foot from each of their heads, and none of them died. And what, Echo came out with, like, a broken foot. That was it. Of course, the final scene too on first watch felt silly to me because the way I saw it was there were 4 characters in a room, 3 of them were playable LOL characters, and 1 of them died, and of course the one that didn't die was the non-playable LOL character. But honestly, I much prefer characters not dying than actually dying because the deaths in this act aren't meaningful at all. First of all the stakes of a death are completely thrown out the table when you realize that parallel universes can just bring everyone back. Which is why I abhor that writing trope, even if it brings cool what-if moments. Heimerdinger can easily be brought back in some way, but even if he wasn't, his death was still awful. Just out of nowhere gets unceremoniously killed and literally never mentioned again. And Bessa's death is so fast and out of nowhere, like she seemed to be holding her own pretty well except for the final moment, and then she's just dead. Like this entire season and the previous season, she was built up to be this absolute monstrous warlord, and then she just dies in like almost the first real battle we see her in. Jinx sacrifices herself for Vi, which has absolutely 0 build-up so far and made it so unimpactful. As well as the ending of Warwick's character, which I don't even know if you'd really call him a character because he's literally just a walking and every once in a while talking plot device, whose purpose is literally only to get Jinx and Vi back together, because outside of Vander, they have absolutely no reason to go from one episode trying to kill each other and the next episode back to being sisters again. But either way, even in the end, if this moment did really mean something to you, it means absolutely nothing considering they have their little cringe I'm actually still alive moment. And while I'm talking about this, please, Arcane fans, stop writing this off as a mere theory. It is literally factual and in the writing. Caitlyn is quite literally looking at escape routes to see how Jinx could have gotten out. And of course, the final shot of the show is the foreshadowing moment that was mentioned all the way back in the introduction of Powder and Vi, in which she said she was going to fly an airship one day. And recalling the first thing you've ever seen Powder doing is shown her humming this song. And inevitably, the final motif is that song. It's not a theory, it's pretty clear. There are even more people online saying you can see her flying down one of the escape routes if you slow the clip down really fast. Why did I say fast like that? So if you can see Vinx flying... I just said Vinx. Either way, I think it's pretty clear that Jinx is alive, and the sacrifice really means nothing. But I highly doubt that her being alive ruined any special moment for most of you, because I find it hard to believe that anyone really felt much while watching this scene, considering how rushed and horrendously paced it was. Another thing I cannot stand is the stories having an immediate flash forward in time after a massive event. There's nothing better than seeing a society in shock and starting to recover after a big battle or event. But Arcane, however, just doesn't have the time and just shows everyone mourning the death of Jinx, which, I remind you, doesn't mean anything because she's still alive. It's really sad to compare the final act of Season 1 compared to this final act of Season 2 because the difference is insane. Of course, character resolutions are completely completed. Characters like Victor, Jace, Kate, Vi, and every single character. And after those resolutions, we have a final holy crap moment. Instead, up until the final episode, no one's character is resolved, and they all have to be resolved in this final crazy battle moment, and it feels more like Avengers Endgame than an actual concise, amazingly crafted, and subtle story, like Season 1 was. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I went to go take a piss yesterday and then just never came back. Now, I do have many problems with Season 2, but I still did enjoy it a lot. Very much just be coping because how much I adored the first season, and I may be biased, and that's why I like the second season so much, but I truly did love a lot about this season. Stuff like Isha and Jinx's relationship is stuff I'll remember from this season years after it's done. The really awesome intro scenes for almost every single episode in the first and second act. That was almost like a music video, really set the tone for the episodes. I love that stuff so much. The absolutely masterful animation never fails to impress me. That kind of stuff I really adore, and there's nothing more that I want than this ending to be better, but it just isn't there for me. I truly do wish they had more time to flesh out these characters' actions, thoughts, and motivations to make it really feel satisfying and give Arcane the ending that it absolutely deserved. But that's just me. What do you guys think about Arcane ending? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? You think I'm an idiot? You think I'm a genius? Probably not that last part. But either way, hop in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think. We can yap about it. I got absolutely no life. You can tell by that poster right there. Anyway, I'm done here. Yeah. Oh, this is my brother's mic. I don't know why I just threw that.